Wife has been using annual girls trip as an annual hall pass. Part 4. Update to https://www.reddit.com/r/stories/s/lfzvlnsm closing parenthesis. It has been a long time since I last posted, but with as many people who offered support and advice, I felt I owed you all this 1-year update. I know everyone wanted me to just divorce and move on, and I would have loved to, but I also needed her to have consequences. It took me months of researching and planning, but when I was ready, I was going to make her pay for her callousness. I knew I couldn't do scorched earth. Between my state's laws, custody, the fact we both have good jobs, dumpster fire was going to be the best I could pull off. But you know what? Dumpster fire was good enough. I'll never forget the look on her face. When Gwen got back from her girls' trip, she tried to be her usual loving self, tried to initiate, tried to tell me about it. WTF. I played like a broken man while rejecting her. I slowly loosened up this facade, making it seem more and more like I was getting back to normal, and gradually allowed more of her affections. My whole goal was just for her to have a sense of security. I still remembered the threats she made right after day. And I'll never forget her telling me I would be the loser in all of this no matter what. Well, I wasn't going to lose, she was. Her biggest flaw was complacency. She expected everything to just tick on as normal, and she was in way too much fog to even think I would pull the shit I did. My first plan was to hurt her financially. Not a ton I could do here, but I did empty our joint savings account. I then used that money to pay off my debts, notably the car that was in my name. I also hired myself a lawyer and got him to draft papers. Right at the end, I used a decent chunk to put a deposit and first months on a rental house. I figured timing everything up just right to ruin next year's girls' trip was ideal. Over the last year, I have been slowly collecting any and all evidence of infidelity I could on Scarlett, Dawn, and John. With the cat being out of the bag, my wife was so much more lax with her phone. Before, she was somewhat guarded with it. Not suspiciously, as I always respected her privacy for the most part, but usually she was extra guarded in the months leading up to June. Now, since she thought I was so beaten down, I guess, she would just leave it laying around when she showered or slept. This allowed me to get screenshots, pics, and send them to myself. I discovered Scarlett wasn't just hall passing the girls' trip, she was having a full-on affair for years. The two guys I got enough to raise suspicion with a concerned spouse, especially if there were other red flags in the relationship. So we finally got to the week leading up to this year's girls' trip. She was going to leave on Friday. Unfortunately for her, on Wednesday the foreclosure notice on the house came. She came up screaming at me, asking why I stopped paying the mortgage and how this is going to destroy our credit. I took that moment to remind her that it wasn't my house, my name wasn't on it. She should remember she's the one that pointed that out last year. Needless to say, she was extremely pissed. She was raving. She was extra pissed when she went to check the savings and found out it was empty. For a few moments there, she thought she was going to hit me. She probably would have had I not been filming this whole fiasco as it went down. The best part was she had to call her parents to cover the cost of stopping the foreclosure, which the first found hilarious. She put her dad on speaker, who began ripping into me, talking about his name is still on it, and finally yelled, "Why the fuck would you do this?" I simply replied, "Because your daughter likes to fuck other guys." She screamed at me, "You are such a fucking asshole." She turned at that point and went out of the room to deny what I just said, which couldn't have been more convenient. I took the chaos as my cue to send the infidelity evidence I had collected to the other spouses. Feeling content in my efforts so far, I went ahead and scooped the twins up and headed for my mother's house. We had a nice time. Gwen was blowing my phone up about the house. It was unfortunate she figured out I had stopped paying on her car too. It likely would have gotten repoed any day. The craziest part was she just could not fathom why I would do this. Kept asking me, wasn't she good enough? How could I do this? Why am I being so cruel? When I finally responded, it was because I came to realize just how far gone she was. She was literally the definition believing your own bullshit. I told her, "You cheat on me every year, you are gonna do it again. Why would I stay with you? Why would I help you or support you? You have lost your goddamn mind." She fired back in all caps, "I do that for us." I finally had my clear admission of cheating. I turned my phone off for the rest of the night. I returned home after work the next day. She confronted me right at the door. I apparently ruined Scarlett's marriage. Samuel had left and told her he wanted a divorce. I guess she is especially fucked because they had a prenup. Don't really know the details on that. Gwen had also gotten an angry and threatening call from Don's wife, so I guess everyone got my emails. Well, not totally sure, no word from John yet. She clearly wanted to fight with me when I got there, but I wasn't having it. I've had a year to process the loss of this marriage. I'm done. When I pulled out the divorce papers and served her, she melted into the floor, totally defeated. I had no comfort to give. I just gathered my go bag and returned to my mother's. That was a week ago. She has been begging me to come back, to work this out. She is finally promising to stop the girls' trip, but it's definitely too little too late. I got her together enough to work out a custody situation for the twins. That's really all that matters. As long as we can raise two decent humans, I'll be happy to co-parent. As for me, I feel like a new man. I got into the house while she was gone and got more things for my new house. I bought the twins new rooms with some money I had been setting aside to do so. The divorce will take time. I'm worried she will contest it, but I'll cross that bridge when it comes. For now, I'm just going to try and enjoy each day, and maybe plan a boys' trip. 8 years later, https://www.reddit.com/r/stories/s/dheyhlalu.